And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to episode number 23, the LeBron episode of the Ball Talk Boyos podcast. I am joined, as by usual, the biggest Ohio State fan in the world, Joey Boreski. Joey, how are you doing today?
Topher, I am doing fantastic today. And you know what? I actually mean that this time. I'm actually doing fantastic today because, it's been a while since we shot Ball Talk Boyos,
Hey.
and a lot has changed in those 2.5 months. And,
Yeah.
things are looking up. Do I have a job yet? No, I still don't have a job. Ha ha, ha, laugh at me in the comments, whatever. But everything else is doing fantastic, man. It's great. I'm excited to be here and talk some ball with you today.
Hey, Jobo and Toto just had to take a couple months off, get their stuff in order, and then we were gonna come back eventually. It was just we had to get we each had our own ducks that needed to be put in a row, and they're slowly getting more lined up. But we're very happy to be back. Hopefully, I graduate in a month and a half, so we're close to being able to be more consistent on that stuff not being around. We got some fun. Hopefully, we'll make some more podcasts, obviously, but then maybe we're taking a little trip down to Chicago at the end of the month. So I know you'll be there, right?
Is that April?
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the Cubs game.
Yeah. Is that in April?
Yeah, that's Sunday.
I forget. I said yes to whenever it was. I still buy tickets.
Bought the tickets. It doesn't even. I haven't either. I'm gonna wait. So I'll wait till like next week. But yeah, and maybe we'll have a couple other baseball stadiums. Him and I will make different trips to. I know we'd kicked around. We'll see if those happen this year. They'll happen at some point for sure. But we got some stuff we got to cross off the list. But Joey, what's been your I guess sports intake like the last couple of months? What you been paying attention to?
I've been following. For those of you that know me, know I'm a big college basketball guy. So obviously in the post football world that we've been living in right now, a lot of college basketball. Obviously the NBA, there's been a lot of crazy storylines, trade deadline, all that jazz. So a lot to follow there as well. But college basketball has been my main thing. I did commit a cardinal sin of college basketball fans, and I traveled during the first week of March Madness to another country where I did not have the ability to watch March Madness. So that one's on me. John Rothstein, if you see this, I'm sorry. My bad. But yeah, college basketball mostly.
At what point in the decision-making process did you realize you were going to essentially miss the entire first weekend? I can't remember if we were talking about it when you remembered that you were going to be missing all of it. I can't remember like the timeline.
No, I think I figured it out because I think we talked about it at St. Patrick's Day, which was right before I left for Italy. But I think like a couple days before that, so
yeah.
I think it might be around then when I realized about a week before I left that crap, I'm gonna be in Italy during the first weekend of March Madness. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'll be in Italy, but maybe I'll have some time. I'll have YouTube TV on my phone, so I'll be able to watch some games. And then first game, March Madness, try to pull it up. I think it was Creighton, Louisville.
Yeah.
YouTube TV is not available in your country. Heartbreaking. Thank God it was a boring March Madness for all the upsets and stuff, but still.
Yeah. What do you feel like, I guess, the cause of the lack of upsets and where we've ended up now, which is 4 1 seeds in the Final Four?
I think it's a combination of a few things. First of all, the past many years of March Madness, there's been some crazy Cinderellas that never happened before. I mean, you saw St. Peter's, a 15 seed, go to the Elite Eight a few years ago. Farley Dickinson won recently. I mean, there's been like these great stories and great Cinderella runs in recent years, which is not the norm all time. That's just not how it typically goes. So I think that kind of the regression to the mean for that, but also the fact that NIL and the transfer portal are as big and as prevalent as they are in college basketball these days. It's tough for these smaller schools to be able to field teams nearly as competitive as these big schools with way more funding in these bigger conferences. I mean, You saw the SEC get a record 14 teams in the tournament this year out of 16. That was the most teams any conference gotten into the tournament by 3. Like no, the previous record was 11 by like the old Big East, I'm pretty sure. So it was a huge, huge record. And you see all these top teams just being able to decimate the lower seeds because all these mid-majors that maybe would have had guys be there for a few years and then eventually have that 1 or 2 years where they were really good before kind of going back to normal because they have these talented guys. Those talented guys are now transferring when they see the first whiff of success to go get the bag at a bigger school. I mean, you see, for example, from University of North Dakota, I think it's Trayson Eaglestaff. He dropped 41 on Alabama this year and 50 in one of their conference tournament games, I believe, or towards the end of the season for them. They didn't make the tournament, but the second they were eliminated from the conference tournament, he's in the portal. And he's transferring to South Carolina, I believe. So, like, South Carolina's not even like a good – that was one of the 2 SEC teams that missed. So I think it's just the fact that NIL and the transfer portal, as big as they are, all these guys want to go play for these bigger schools, get the money, obviously, which, I mean, if you're a college athlete and you're saying, no, I'm going to pass up on hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars, just so I can stay and play for Northern Colorado, like Dalton Tech, for example, instead of getting more exposure, playing against better competition, and having a chance to actually win more while also getting paid more money, you're delusional if you think that any person's going to pass up on that for the most part. There's going to be very, very few instances where someone's going to pass up on that. So I think that's where college basketball is at right now. It's just a lot of damage done by NIL and the transfer portal to these schools. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the graphs that are posted, Topher, like the graphics where it's like of the Final Four teams or the Elite Eight teams, like where all the guys where the starting lineup like started, college careers, and it's just all different logos. The entire every single team is just 4 different logos basically.
What was it? Purdue was the only team that was like it was mainly homegrown guys aside from one. But I think the one place I like push back on, I think this year will just wind up being an outlier. We've seen more of late like outliers in one direction where it was more upsets and teams making runs. I think this year will just be an outlier in like the other direction. Cause like I was trying to find the data like or the information earlier on today about like, all right, how much I couldn't find anything concrete obviously, but like how much has each of these teams spent on NIL this year of the Final Four? And is it these are just the top 4 teams? Like I know they've all built their teams differently. Auburn, they have done it through the transfer portal. They have a lot of, 5th, 6th year guys as opposed to like Duke, is it 3 freshmen starting?
I believe so, yeah.
Is Khan other one of the guards? Yeah, is he a freshman? Because I know Cooper and then the big man, from I forget South Sudan. I can't remember.
I think South Sudan.
But I remember when. Yeah, but I think this year will just be like an outlier because it's not like we were normally seeing a team like McNeese State make it all the way to like the Final Four. I mean, we have in recent past, but the national champions wind up falling into a very small bucket of like, all right, these are the 5 teams that can act. I think this year it was 6 that fall under like the historical data, and there was like a little bit of an asterisk next to Iowa State just because they had their injuries coming in. But I do think this. I don't know how I do think this just winds up being an outlier in the other direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you saw, I think 2008 was the last time it was all 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four. So it's happened before. I think it's going to be, I think the new norm is going to be more so these elite teams are going to be better at making the runs. It's going to be the same teams being really good every year as opposed to seeing like a Butler make that national championship games from a mid-major conference. Or seeing a Loyola Chicago go to the Final Four. Like, you're not going to see that as much anymore.
But those are also, once again, outliers in the other direction as opposed to where it looks like we might be trending.
No, absolutely. I just think it's going to be tough. I mean, I think the real damage is going to be like towards like the bubble, really, because there's been times where there's been these mid-majors on the bubble and they're like right around getting in, but then they're like, okay, maybe next year it'll be better. You're not going to see these mid-majors getting these at-large bids like they have been historically or anything like that. It's going to be the teams that win their conferences in the Power 5 and the Power 5 at-large bids, basically. then the bubble, and then all the mid-major conference champions. It's not going to be
Mhm.
a mid-major conference champions getting a 7 seed or something like that, which obviously has not been always happening historically, but still it's happened more than it's going to happen. I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tall hill to climb. It's going to be a tall hill to climb for some of these smaller schools to even compete with these bigger schools. Like we have seen them be able to do at least to some degree in the past.
To some degree, yeah, that is true. But I mean, also like speaking directly just to like the 4 that we have, I saw a stat the other day. They all rank top 10 in like the bet. Have you seen that? They're all like they're 4 of the top 10 best like Ken Palm teams since 96, 97. So it's not like it's just 4 1 seeds. Like I mean, these are 4 of the quote unquote best teams ever, I guess, however large of a bubble you want to put that. Or maybe in the last, since the turn of the century, if we want to call it. So, I mean, the best teams are supposed to win. These teams have just done it better than, others have.
Right.
Of these 4, who's your pick to pull it off in the end?
I am going to go with Houston. I think Houston pulls it off. I think that Houston's path to the Final Four currently has been the hardest of all 4 teams' paths. I think that Houston has a good kind of they play a good system. They're really good defensively, and I think they have a good mix of experience and youth that's going to really help them be successful. They have a lot of good athletes. I think that Houston, there's not a glaring weakness with Houston that I see that scares me to the point where I think I'm going to pick against them. I think they'll do very well. I am very high on Duke as well. If I had to put my money on besides Houston, it would be Duke. I think Duke is a fantastic, fantastic team right now. Cooper Flagg is a special talent, so he could definitely do it. But then again, you could always make that argument then for Florida and for Auburn as well. I think legitimately, this is one of the first times in recent memory where every single team in the Final Four has a good shot of winning. Like I think you get to some years where you're like the year where it was like UConn, Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, and Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's just kind of sitting there like, okay, so UConn's the national champion here, right? Like that was kind of the thought there, and they easily were. While this year, it is 4 teams that all, if they win the national championship, I would not be surprised. I would not bat an eye at any of them winning it. I'm gonna go with Houston. Houston was my pick in all my brackets to win it. But we'll have to see.
So do you then not feel like Duke's size will wind up? I mean, they're so big and they're so long. Do you feel like that won't play as much of a factor as I guess probably some of the national people will?
I think it could play a factor, absolutely. But when you're a bunch of guys who are as talented as all the guys on all these teams are, it's not as much of a difference as in a game against Robert Morris or another mid-major school where they don't have those athletes, they don't have that size. Like Houston can make up for that in other ways. I think Duke is very, very talented. I think this Duke team's the best team ever rated by Ken Palm. I mean, Ken Palm started in the 90s, but I think the best team ever according to Ken Palm.
It was first or second. Let me check. I have it bookmarked.
I think that there's a shot that second best. Yeah, I think that it's not like these other teams are any slouches either. If it was Duke with a bunch of teams that were kind of lucky to be there, happy to be there, then I'd just be ready to crown Duke already. But Duke also does have the issue with experience. They're not as experienced as some of these other teams. They have a lot of great depth, but they're not as experienced. So, I mean, there's positives and negatives to all these teams. And I think that I like where Houston's at, but it could be Duke, could be Florida, it could be Auburn. And if it was any of them, I wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, Auburn with Janai Broom, his elbow injury, they really know what's going on with that yet. But
did he come back in to finish the game?
He did come back in.
Notification that he left.
Yeah, he came back in.
Interesting.
He was nursing that elbow for sure.
I'm sorry. I was looking up to see what Duke. It's a Duke team that they have over.
Yeah.
The other. Do you know which one it is?
Is it late 90s?
Yep.
Was it like the Grant Hill? No, that Grant Hill was earlier 90s.
Uh-huh.
Was it Mike Dunleavy?
He's not on this roster.
Jay Williams.
Uh-uh.
Who's on this team?
They were led by sophomore center who averaged 17 and 9. I'm going to be honest. I recognize 2 of the names on this roster, which is
And
why
you're a
I
Duke
was
fan
surprised.
too.
Yeah, and I just recognize basketball. Obviously you wind up with some weird, but Elton Brand.
Oh, okay. There, yeah.
And the other name I recognize is Shane Battier on this team.
I forgot Elton Brand went to Duke.
Yeah, Trajan Langdon.
He's a beast.
Played for the Cavs. And what are some of these other names? William Avery, I think, was one of them.
I don't know.
Corey Maggot.
Corey
Maggette, yeah. They all have I'm saving the ones that have NBA logos next to them. But yeah, they went 37-2 and were 16-0 in ACC play that year.
Jeez.
This wouldn't have been one of the years they won the champ. No, they didn't win the championship this year, right? Oh no, they lost in the national championship game. You want to guess to who?
What year is this?
99.
98 to 99. 2000 was Michigan State. So 99.
This team has one name I recognize.
1999.
Uh-huh. You want to know what conference?
Sure.
They were they came out of the Big East.
Not Syracuse. Is this one of the years UConn won?
Mm-hmm.
And UConn had Ray Allen? No, Ray Allen was earlier.
Led by Richard Hamilton.
Rip Hamilton, baby. Hamilton. Okay, yep. Yeah.
That's crazy. Crazy.
That was crazy once.
Yeah, they won by 3.
Wow.
They beat Ohio State to get there too. In the Final Four. Right here. It says Ohio State, number 14.
Yeah. Too soon.
Led by Michael Redd.
That guy, he was a bucket, man. Michael Redd was an absolute bucket.
Local kid too, it looks like. From Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
Just did it different back then.
Yeah.
But we'll see. That those kick off, what's it, Saturday at some time?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do we even talk about? Nothing's really happening.
Yeah, not a lot going on in sports right now. NBA.
Who cares? Wake me up when it's playoff time at this point. Nothing's changing. I mean, the West is let me pull up the NBA standings, but I just know the West is just moving back and forth between a revolving door of who's the 2 seed. The East has been the same since, December.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cavs, Celtics are still the top 2 seeds. Right now, the Rockets, and it looks like they might hold on to it as the 2 seed in the West. Why are the Rockets good?
The Rockets have some good young talent there.
Yeah, I know that, but that just seems kind of random, no?
I mean, Alperen Sengun was a all-star this year. Amen Thompson's very good.
Mm-hmm.
Jabari Smith, I think, is injured right now. Jalen Green, I'm not high on Jalen Green. I'm not high on Fred VanVleet really anymore. Dylan Brooks has been good as much as
Probably
Dylan
just
Brooks.
probably just a well-coached team. I mean, whether you like the guy or not,
Yeah,
Udoka's done a
Ime Udoka's a good
obviously
coach.
you shouldn't like the guy.
No,
Notorious bad guy, but I mean he coached the Celtics to an NBA Finals one year, and
yeah,
now he's the Rockets in the 2 seed. They'll probably get their doors blown. I mean, if they wind up having to play, like I think they lose to the Clippers first round,
I agree.
just because it's the. I mean, right now it'd be them and the Clippers. Oh no, because the freaking play-in. But the Warriors climbed all the way up to the 5 seed. That's kind of crazy.
Jimmy Butler trade paying off apparently.
Apparently. Do you, as a Cavs fan, do you feel how like on a scale from 1 to 10, how confident are you that they make the NBA Finals?
Like a 5.
You think somewhere in between, somewhere in the
Yeah,
middle?
I think the Celtics are a very, very good team. I think it's gonna be us or the Celtics, but the
Uh-huh.
Cavs have also never really shown me post LeBron anything in the playoffs that would make me think they're gonna do anything here. Also, we were in a
Yeah,
slump a little bit recently, so I mean, you just never really know. Plus, the Celtics are just so good and
rolling.
so talented.
What?
What?
Oh, you made a face like I'd said something weird. But yeah,
No,
Cavs 5-5 in their last 10. But I mean, oh yeah, pursuit for 70 wins is off. Looks like they're gonna
we
finish
lost five. We
somewhere.
lost 5 straight.
Uh-huh. But I mean, I'm still picking. I think my preseason pick was Celtics Lakers. I think I'm still taking that.
Yeah, I mean, Celtics are a good bet, and the West obviously is a whole
Who
nother
knows?
animal. Yeah,
It's just there are so many. I don't know if it's just because I haven't paid attention to NBA basketball much the last 4-ish years, as much as I had like previously. Um, but like a lot of these teams, I don't really believe in, and I'll believe it when I see it. Like some of these teams, I am writing off just like blind faith. Like yeah, they could make a run. Like I mean, the Thunder, like I kind of just need to wait till I see it. Like I don't buy it, but like that could just be me. Same thing with the Cavs. Like I'll just need to see it, and it more has to do with I don't believe in those teams' number one options. Yeah, Thunder obviously I'm closer to than, but we'll just see if that like style of basketball when the whistle does get harder to get. When they're blowing it less often, it is a little more physical. Like we'll see how easy it is for the Thunder to. I don't know. I could just be going off what I see on Twitter, but I feel like Shea takes 15 free throws a game. Whether that's high or not, I don't know. But I also could just be making that up. I'll be completely honest. But like Nuggets, I think can obviously win, but I don't know. We had a long talk the other day about playoff Rondo.
why?
You don't remember the legends of playoff Rondo?
No, of course I remember, but I don't. That's a random thing that kind of come up.
Well, of course. What's his face came up. Boogie Cousins came up, so we started talking about the Pelicans because you know me. I don't know if you know this about me, Joey, but I love DeMarcus Cousins. And
We talked
then
about this on the podcast. Yeah,
and then it turned into talking about that year with the Bulls when they were up like 2-0 against um they were up 2-0 against the Celtics, and then he got hurt, and then the Celtics rattled off like four. It was 2017, I think we figured out. It all started because I this might just be me being a LeBron guy, but I will always say that if the Cavs win Game 1 in 2018, that series goes completely differently, and I think the Cavs wind up winning.
I mean, I'm not gonna argue with
Nope,
that, but obviously,
nobody agreed with me. Nobody agreed with me. It was just me that said it. I think I could talk about 2015 to 2018 LeBron for I think I could talk about LeBron for 25 hours straight.
You're gonna filibuster about LeBron?
I think I could pull it off. What do you think you could talk about for 25 hours straight?
It'd have to be something that has to do with college sports, right? And like mascots slash. Well, for those of you, I don't know if I've shared this on the podcast. This is a very, very impressive skill I used to have. It really got me all the ladies back in the day. I used to be able to name every single Division I college basketball head coach. You just can name a team. I can name that team's mascot and their head coach for college basketball.
You could still do the mascot pretty well as of what, 3 years ago?
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago. I did that, but I can still do that just fine. But every college basketball head coach. So I think I could do something nice about like just college sports. If you just tell me college sports, I can go 25 hours and figure something to talk about for 25 hours. If we're going as broad as that. LeBron's a close second probably, and then Cole Hawker's probably a close third, but yeah.
Cole Hawker, definitely could talk about him. I'm trying to think about what other things could probably talk about for 25 straight hours.
Running.
May term.
Oh boy.
Maybe not 25 hours, but I could go a while. Just freshman year, college. But like that should be stuff I could talk,
Well, there's way more than 25 hours worth of material from college, though. To be fair,
there's so many. That
can get into so many different little avenues, so many different little critters that have come about over the years.
Especially since we've done it for we've both will have done it for the same amount of time, 5 years.
Yep.
Really messing up the 95% mark.
95% graduate in 4 years.
Exactly. That's what your alma mater and my future alma mater will claim.
They claim 95% of people graduate in 4 years. Are you serious?
It can't be that at this point. Yeah.
I think from my grade at Carthage, I think I knew more people in my grade who dropped out of Carthage.
I don't think it counts those people.
So
that 95%. Goes into another. Well, there's like the retention rate. There's another, there's other statistics that count. The nerds come up with all those.
Yeah, I don't know. Carthage, I was not there for the playing school part. Unless you're in a future employer looking at the podcast, then I was absolutely there playing school.
Joey was 1,000. All Joey did was talk about school. That's all he's done.
Yep.
That's all he has done. I feel like I had some bookmarks saved in my Twitter for us to talk about information that I've just accumulated over the time. Oh, here's one that I found. So let's continue on basketball. So Vince Carter had his jersey retired.
Mm-hmm.
What would your criteria be for retiring a jersey?
I think there's a couple things that kind of have to happen. One, there's a couple of criteria that I would fit someone into. You have to have had a lot of winning with that team. You have to have won some championships or been part of a golden generation for that team. This is just one criteria that I think fits. It's like the Warriors, right? They retired Andre Iguodala's jersey.
Yeah,
perfect. That works. That's understandable. I get that, right? And obviously they're going to retire Clay, Draymond, obviously Steph, but that's different. But guys who were part of an elite golden generation for a team, yes, that works out just fine. Two, you have to have a lot of personal success, right? So you have to have been an MVP, many-time All-Star. This is just a couple of things that could happen. All-NBA a few times, any of those things, and I think that you'd be a good example of someone whose jersey should be retired, right? Third thing is the Nick Collis, Udonis Haslem type of thing, where you were just a mainstay on a team for so long, beloved by the city and the fans, kind of the role model there. Good culture guy, right? So just a culture guy.
Do a lot for the community.
Do a lot for community, yeah. I think Tony Allen can go in there too for Memphis, but yeah, those are all areas where I think it makes some sense. But also, if people associate you with a team to a heavy degree, for example, Vince Carter, right, with the Raptors, he is so heavily associated with the Raptors. because there's iconic dunking and all that stuff. I mean, there's the Raptors logo of the Raptor dunking the ball now because of Vince Carter. It's Vince Carter, but just as a Raptor, right? So I think that that's another really good scenario in which someone's jersey should be retired. I think that there's obviously examples of bad jersey retirements or jersey retirements I don't agree with necessarily, but for the most part, all these jersey retirements have their place and have their reason that makes them make sense.
I think it's all eye test. I think it's all just. I don't think there's any like good way. You did a great job quantifying it in like different buckets. I think I'm more of just like an eye test guy. Like, do you think KD gets his retired by the Warriors?
I don't think
like he's a Thunder. Like
I don't
that
think Thunder
is where his
retires.
jersey should be retired.
Thunder
You don't
retires.
think so?
No.
I think they do. I think it might take a few. Like it won't be the year after he retires, but I think within 10 years of him retiring, there's a reconciliation process. Hell, he could go back there this summer. Like realistically,
I don't see him reconciling with the city of Oklahoma City though, just because of how bad of blood and how stubborn he is.
Maybe. I think he could go back there. Honestly,
if he goes back there and plays there, then yes,
they got to do something. They got to do something with all those picks. Like you can't just like, especially in the NBA, like you have to do something with all those picks.
I think you're better off. This is when they have to start cashing in for sure.
Like trade 8 of them to whoever gets the number 1 overall pick, and like take whoever you want. Take Coop. Like I like you can at this point you can afford to overpay picks to get whoever you want, just so that way nobody else is in the realm of it. Like if it had been brought to them like, hey, maybe not Luka, maybe they would have. Would SGA play off the ball? Probably not as good. SGA probably needs the ball too much in his hand, especially with his style of play.
I think that Luka wouldn't have been a good fit for the team, but like,
for example, somebody like Luka, like
if Wemby, if this is back when Wemby, if Wemby became available, perfect. Throw everything to get Wemby.
Because I just feel like NBA picks, especially, they don't matter. Like I wonder what the like rate. I mean, you obviously like they more wind up turning into like solid bench pieces at a point. Like it's probably very rare that you hit an all-star with a first-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, the NBA success rate for that stuff is not as high as like a first-round pick in the NFL, but it's also so much harder to project how guys are going to be in the NBA than they are in the NFL.
Who's someone that you were like sure was going to be like a stud in the NBA out of college that just never translated?
You know, Topher, I like to say that I'm never wrong. I'm just right too early. So I'm not going to say I necessarily gave up on the person. I'm giving up on this person. But I think the guy that I've seen come about the most for this that I also kind of agree with, Jabari Parker. I was so certain Jabari Parker was going to be that dude. I mean, he's a Chicago kid. I mean, when he was coming up, I was a basketball player, man. I was obsessed with basketball. So I hear so much Jabari Parker. Watching him play at Duke, like I thought he was as sure of a sure thing as there is. I thought he should have got number 1 that year. I thought he should have been number 1 pick. That's how sure I was about him.
Who went ahead of him? I can't even remember.
Isn't it Wiggins?
That sounds right. It might have been. Good call.
But I was so sure about Jabari Parker. I think the issue obviously was his injuries. Injuries slowed him down big time. That's tough. Like you could say Greg Oden could be in that conversation too, but injuries slowed him down. I just think I thought Jabari Parker was going to be like I thought his floor was like 5 or 6 time All-Star. Like that's worst case scenario going to happen to Jabari Parker. I thought he was best case scenario going to be the best player in the league, best player in the world in the GOAT conversation. So like that's how high I was in Jabari Parker, and obviously it didn't pan out whatsoever like that.
He had 3 years where he played more than 50 games.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he just did, and I mean he was one of them. The Milwaukee's third year in the league, like that was when he was starting to turn a corner. It looks like, but I thought Marvin Bagley. I still think about Marvin Bagley, where he was so smooth, and I thought he moved so well and was so long that like it was just gonna work out eventually. But I mean that combination of he never really was hurt. He was just bad.
Yeah, I just think Marvin Bagley was so good in college, but he was I always thought for him he was so clearly a guy whose game was not going to translate well to the next level.
Yeah.
But I was like, he might be
really
good enough to
jumper.
He gave me Jahlil Okafor vibes in terms of like just not gonna like great player.
Yeah.
But just obviously he went to Duke as well, so that's probably why I got Jahlil Okafor, even though they're not exactly the same player.
Easy
but
comparison.
Like just like not gonna translate to being at the next level unless he like is otherworldly at what he does. Like he's a very good player and very good at what he does. But his style of play, you need to be otherworldly to be able to compensate for his style of play not being in the meta right now.
Yeah. It's just crazy to see that like Wendell Carter has gone on to have a better like NBA career than like Marvin Bagley has.
Well, I think Marvin Bagley is also very limited defensively.
Yeah, I can't remember what it looked like coming out, but I mean, he was another guy that was in that. Which draft was he in the Luka draft class?
Yeah, he was because he went in front of
Ayton.
Yeah,
he went in front of Luka, but he never gets brought up because finally.
Well, I mean, the issue is some of these guys who go super high aren't going to have great careers because they've been like the best guy their whole careers. They've been ball dominant their whole careers. They don't know how to play that role, and their skill set has been developed over the years to not be fitting a role, but to be like they're not trying to fit into a system. They've been the system their whole lives. So having to go kind of conform to fit a system, that's not what their style of play is like best for. So it's tough when you've been the system your whole life. Your style of play is accustomed to being the system, and that's what it's best for is being the system. And you're not good enough to be the system in the NBA, if that makes sense what I'm trying to say.
Sorry, we had another trade go through in our Dynasty Football League, which has been incredibly active of the last week. What was it was mainly on this past Saturday when we were all at a track meet. What was your thoughts as I don't know if when you saw that all those trades went through, like what you weren't with the group of us that was doing all of them, but I mean we've had like 10 plus trades happen in the last week. Like what's been your thought? Like here, let me read off this one that just happened. Did you see it?
I just saw it, yeah.
Okay. So it was Derek Carr, Tony Pollard, and Jamar Chase for George Kittle, Kyron Williams, Jalen McMillan, the 206, and the 111 in this year's rookie draft.
This is just so stupid. Like some of these trades, I'm just looking at them like, are we just bored here? Are we just trading for this? I saw last night. Like last night is when I officially saw last night. I see in the chat for the league. I said, WTF is happening? Where did all these trades come from? Then Derek obviously has to chirp because Derek's trying to trade 24/7. There were a lot more than that. Maybe someday he'll get involved. And I said, once I get a good offer, I will be. And then Derek starts chirping like I wanted 2 first-rounders for Jerry Jeudy. Trevor tried to make fun of me for my team being bad, even though I've been tanking. But what's all these people are just trading for the sake of trading right now. Like some of these trades, like I've seen the reasoning behind them. Like people are just bored. People just want to do something.
I think I made 3 trades in this span of time. I made mine for my reasons, and I can explain who I've traded away as a reasoning for why I made moves that I did. But Jerry Jeudy's not worth a first, dude.
He might not be, but I don't have any reason to trade Jerry Jeudy and get a second and third round pick. I don't need a second and third round pick. Like
that does make sense. But you're just in such a I don't know. Because I sent you a trade offer, and yeah, it was kind of like I was obviously trying to get like the world for who I was trying to trade to you, but like, are you ever gonna you have 4 first-round picks this year?
Yeah.
And you're just gonna keep taking guys, and then you have 2 next year. Like when are we gonna turn the corner here? What's the thought process?
The corner is about to turn. If you look at the Dynasty League rankers, I just plugged the league in to this. So I'm like, what's going on right now? If you go by players and picks, my team's the best in the league, obviously, because all the picks. If you go by just players, though, and how valuable players are in Dynasty, I'm number 2. My team is number 2 right now.
Because
your team.
Your quarterbacks, like that was what I noticed. Was that your quarterbacks are really good? Like I really like where you're at quarterback wise.
And my wide receivers are also really good.
I don't know if I'd say really good.
Wide receiver, I have a lot of really young receivers there that are pretty solid.
Yeah, but it's just like I don't know how much. Like, I don't know. You obviously have your view on your guys. I have views on your guys, but I mean, you do have good. Like, it's not like you don't have like good players. It's just I don't know how much I'd be buying into some of them having like repeat success, I guess.
That's fair. I mean, I think the thing, what my strategy right now is accumulate all this huge group of young talent and all these picks that have a similar timeline. So when I'm trying to win now, which is going to be in a few years here, I think I'm 2 years away probably from making those moves to truly want to win. I have all this depth to trade. Like, I'm looking at all these teams. None of these teams have any depth really in the league. I have guys on my bench that could be starting on a lot of teams. I have guys that are starting that can start on a lot of teams. I don't have those like 2 or 3 like super. I don't have that like. I mean, I don't have superstar receiver, running back. I just need to fill in the holes right now and kind of trade some of that quantity for some quality. I have the pieces to do that, and I'm just trying to get my guys, hit on my guys, take those shots, because obviously every draft pick's like a lottery ticket right now for the rookie draft. Some lottery tickets are going to have a little bit higher probability of winning than others, but they're all lottery tickets. So if I can just hit on a couple of those, then I'm feeling good about my chances. All my moves I make with intent and thought behind them. I don't see any reason for me to be making a bunch of trades right now when my window to be the best team in the league has not quite opened. If next year I start going and I'm playoff, then I'll make those moves. But until I see some tangible success from my team, I'm going to keep taking those picks, keep having high draft picks, and seeing what happens. But until then, until there's at least a little bit of signs of success, I'm chilling.
This one dynasty ranker I put you into loves your team.
Which one is it?
It's fantasyfootballranker.com.
Oh, I've never even used that one. I was talking about I use Keep Trade Cut, I think, typically, but
I don't love that one. I've used it before. This one also has you. It says you have, not to say you don't, but like you have the best quarterbacks, which feel like. I mean, it has Jade Daniels as the number 2 quarterback, and then like it loves your Trevor Lawrence and Bryce Young as well.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta think about it this way. All the guys on my team, every single one of them is like 25, 26 and younger. Every single one.
Yeah, you have a couple guys
plays
that
a role.
Older.
I mean, there's a guy or two that's a little bit older than that, but like my core is all super young. All these guys on all the rest of the teams in the league, there's guys that aren't going to be there in 3-4 years, for sure.
Sure, but some of your younger guys won't pan out. Like that's just going to happen.
That just happens. But the main core of my team will be in their primes or still be there and still be playing really well in a couple seasons. It's just about I have my timeline. And I'm going to fit that timeline and get all my guys to kind of be around that same timeline so I can maximize my success for a few years.
This ranker loves Xavier Worthy.
Xavier Worthy's a good player. You just have beef with Xavier Worthy.
No, I don't have I don't believe in the like the I don't believe in that play style working, and I don't envision. I don't know. I just don't see. I don't think that fit works like long term. I guess I don't really know.
That's fair.
I don't know how to quantify how I feel about him. So you don't want to trade for Jalen Hurts?
No, because I have Jaden Daniels, Bryce Young, Trevor Lawrence, and Joe Milton, baby.
And Jalen Hurts is better than at least 3 of them, probably 4.
And Jalen Hurts also does not fit my timeline. I don't have any reason to trade for Jalen Hurts.
26. How does it not fit your timeline?
Eye test. Because Jalen Hurts, his aura doesn't fit my team. He doesn't have enough aura for my team.
Oh, that's just not true at all. You gotta get your aura barometer checked.
Jalen Hurts is way too nonchalant for my team. We don't do nonchalant over here. I don't fuck with nonchalant like that.
We'll see. But yeah, I traded away Brian Thomas Jr. for
I saw that
stuff. I'm bringing him home.
Who?
I got one guy on my mind. That's it. One guy. Everything's geared towards getting that one guy, especially this league. You want to take a guess?
Dak Prescott?
No, I don't care about that. I'm not trying. No.
I don't know them outside Dak Prescott, to be honest.
Arch Manning will find his way to my team next year.
Of course. I don't know, man. Hey,
only person on my mind.
I have Trevor's pick next year, and Trevor's just making trades for the sake of making trades to get guys that are from Pittsburgh on his team. So,
but Trevor's team, I don't like. Yeah, this has him, and like just next year has him ranked as the 4th best team. Like if this were a redraft league, it's saying he is the 4th best team.
Interesting. Wait, what's his minus? What's his minus?
Guess
for
what?
Redraft league?
Oh, how does it still have you last? I don't think you're that bad.
I'm not that bad.
No. It does say Trevor is the worst if it were like a dynasty team. But if you're, I've also, it can be flipped. It's just people care more about draft picks than others. Like I have a plan for all my draft picks like this year, and then obviously like next year I'll have a plan. But I went from having 1 4th round pick to I now have 7 picks in this upcoming draft, which we'll do whenever. So. Anything happen? Joe Milton, any thoughts on that?
I think that was a fantastic, fantastic trade, honestly. The Cowboys needed someone behind Dak Prescott. I think Joe Milton has a bright future, potentially, if he's developed the right way. Are the Cowboys the place to develop him the right way? I don't know. But
probably not.
He's not a starting quarterback right now in the league. That's just how it is. But you put him behind a guy like Dak Prescott, who is a good guy, who will mentor him, Dak Prescott's a good person. He'll want to see him have success. He'll care about that team. So putting Joe Milton behind him to learn from Dak Prescott, who is a good quarterback, contrary to popular belief sometimes, I think that's a perfect situation for Joe Milton.
Great quarterback. I just thought it was crazy that it only cost him a 5th.
And
they were asking for a 2nd. Well, whoop-de-doo. But, they were asking for a 2nd at one point this offseason. But I think teams might be coming around on the quarterbacks in this draft class. I don't know to what extent. Like we'll still see. This is a weird draft class. Where I heard it like get put this way is like normally once we know who has the first overall pick, like we're already like that within seconds, whatever media outlet is having the photoshops out of a specific player in that jersey. But I think even still to this point, I think we have a fair assessment, like idea that it's going to be Cam Ward. But like, I don't think we really know, which doesn't feel like it's normally the case.
I feel like normally at this time, you know exactly who the number one pick is going to be. Like it's obvious. Everyone knows who it's going to be. And I think Cam Ward, we kind of have a good idea that it's going to be him, but it's less like it.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's simply a lock right now. And maybe within the next few weeks, as we get closer to the draft, it will become a lock, and we'll hear something that makes it a lock. But it's not as certain as it always is right now, which is exciting.
Mm-hmm. I think even after like just the number one overall pick, like we don't know. Like I don't know where people are going to go.
No, not at all.
I think it's starting to shape up where it looks like Carter's going to go 2. I have no clue what the Giants are going to do, honestly. Like they've signed 2 quarterbacks. I still wouldn't be surprised if they took a quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders took a quarterback at 6. But then, like, if neither of them do, like, where does Sanders go? Where does Dart go? Or whoever after that? It's all just a mess. But I think like the Browns, like specifically, I think I talked about this with a couple of guys. I don't know how your read on it. I just don't think they like any of the quarterbacks in the draft class.
I don't think so either. And honestly, I mean, I think they kind of like Shedeur, but Shedeur is not wanting to play for the Browns. So
Shedeur doesn't like Cleveland.
Yeah, so like it's tough. And honestly, if I'm Cleveland, we've waited so long for a quarterback. I know we had Baker Mayfield and we threw him away for no reason for Deshaun Watson and Deshaun Watson about whatever. But I honestly would wait another year if I was Cleveland. Just wait.
Yeah.
At this point,
the only Russian taking quarterback. Yeah, the only Russian taking a quarterback this year was because of Miles. Like, if Myles Garrett's self-imposed like timeline, but I mean, he's signed the deal. He can wait. Like,
yeah, he's in Browns for life now, basically. So we're chilling.
He got inked. Yeah, he got inked for 4 more years. Maybe we'll have this conversation in another 3 where he's like, I want out. But what did you think of the owner earlier this week kind of come out and saying like, hey, we messed up on the Deshaun Watson stuff? Because that's essentially what he did.
Yeah, I mean, the sun also rose this morning. I mean, like, no crap they messed up on that. Like, I appreciate him saying it, but like, that's the first thing I appreciate from the Cleveland owners ever at this point. Like, it's just, Deshaun Watson was a mess up. But honestly, hindsight's always 20/20. If we're going back to then, everybody was so excited for that move. Like, everyone was like, oh, the Browns are legit now. Like that was a great move by the Browns. Like no one was judging it harshly at the time. Like it was not a bad with vision from back then. Like
strictly
at that time,
football move, it was getting no criticism.
It was a good move, strictly football wise, but it didn't work out, and it didn't work out football wise. It didn't work out football wise. Everyone wanted to judge it even more harshly because of the non-football stuff too. So
yeah,
it really was. As much as I'd love to sit here and say it was the worst move ever, I'm so mad, blah 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 blah. It was not.
It just didn't work out.
It just didn't work out.
I think we've just now learned, and we'll see players do it less often. The sitting out thing, even into training camp, it's just not going to work. Like it just doesn't work for guys. Like you're costing yourself potentially future earnings, and like it can't be just this obvious to like the rest of. I feel like the big case like is obviously Le'Veon Bell. That's probably the most notable person that like he sat out a year, and when he came back, just was not the same. Prescott sat out a full year, then was suspended for another 13 games or whatever. It wound up being 12. Wasn't the same. Brandon Ayuk this past year sat out all of training camp, came in, was behind, unfortunately got hurt, never got to see if he got back on track. But like the sitting out thing just does not work in the NFL. Like you fall too far behind. In other sports, it doesn't work. Like baseball, pitchers last year, there were a couple that sat out all of spring training, didn't sign, waited for the highest payday. One of them has to have Tommy John, and the other one, it took him 4 months to get right back on track. Like it's just the way. Oh, nice! Alex Bregman just hit his first home run. But it's just the way sports goes. Maybe basketball, it can work because it's just a different sport. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's sitting out. It's never really been the smartest move or worked out well. But I mean, it does help if you just are about your bag and your bag only.
Yeah, they'll
It
pay it
works.
eventually, or somebody
Yeah.
will. Like,
it'll work. But
I mean, we even saw, what was it, Bosa hasn't been, Nick, whichever 49er one, hasn't been the same since he sat out most of the training camp that 1 year.
Yeah.
2 years ago, 3 years ago, I can't remember. But like, just don't, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a crazy old man that gets worked up about stuff. I don't know.
I mean, back in my day, man, we would have just been. We just were there for the love of the game and the love of the game only. We weren't getting no payday like that. Like, it was just there. Like, we're D3 athletes, Topher. Like, we payday.
It's all for the love of the game.
And it's just love of the game, man.
Never.
So
I just
don't see how people don't have that love of the game. I get it's your job. I get you want your worth with the money, but I just could never sit out training camp. I harm my team like that. I just love the game too much, man. Just there to win.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pro. I will say I am pro player getting their bag, but like it makes a noticeable difference once. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it changes over time as maybe other people start to see it like us. I don't know. Who knows, kiddo? We got anything else? Sorry, I was trying to pull up Dak Prescott's contract to see at what point they could reasonably cut him, and there's not an out till 27. So Joe Milton, it's going to be a little bit unless they trade him.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's about what's going on right now, I guess. NFL draft will give us some good content. I'll get into baseball. I'll start watching baseball. Okay, I got. Well, not watching. I'll follow baseball. I'll start learning a little bit about that. I got you. I'm sorry. So that'll give us some good content for the summer too. But yeah, good to be back though. Some ball, filming the pod. Life's good. Yeah.
Keep on. Next week, maybe next week we do a little more deep dive into NFL free agency. We didn't really talk about where people signed. Obviously, there weren't many like big, but I mean there were a couple of big extensions that I guess I didn't think were going to happen at a point, and we can talk about those maybe a little more in depth. I know it's not exactly on the burner, but you and I haven't talked about a lot of these things, so
right, yeah, we'll do some research
and get some more friends in the mix and stuff. So
yeah, absolutely.
We'll see. All right. If nothing else, thank you for watching. Please come back. We'll be back more often from now on. We promise. We don't intend on going 2 months again, without an episode. But go Birds.
Is it still going? Is it still going? Oh, because the counter's still going for me.